Hello and welcome to True Crime Diary, a light-hearted podcast on a serious subject. Every 2 weeks we look back through true crime stories to discuss an event that took place on this week in history. I'm your host Mark Decana, and with me as always are my friends Jed Lester.
Hello.
And Rue Turner.
Hello.
So this is our second rewind episode, it now being 2 years since we recorded the Dan Cooper episode originally.
No, God.
And
2 years?
2 years.
Okay.
Be interesting to hear what new developments there are in those 2 years.
Might have been solved.
I thought that's what you intended to do, was to solve it.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't watched the newish Netflix series, but I gather that they don't
It's a
solve
packed 6 episodes.
either.
So what was it? It said 6 episodes long.
6?
Yeah.
55.
Bloody know
Yeah,
that.
just shy
per
of an
episode.
hour each episode.
Oh my God. I mean, they're obviously starting from completely from scratch, I suppose.
Yeah, they're starting from nothing
Even
because
so, how long was
50 years ago there was nothing.
Yeah. How long was our original episode? Because that was long enough to cover the facts. Like 40 minutes or something.
41 minutes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say that was more than
Yeah.
enough. And even most of that was filled with me getting more and more exasperated and saying this is ridiculous several times. But
Quite right too.
Maybe you shouldn't watch all 6 episodes of the new documentary then.
but the last,
If 40 minutes is your limit for exasperation,
Is
6 hours is going to kill you.
is it kind of... Does it build and build tension and
there's
end of an episode there's a cliffhanger?
Absolutely.
Meaning the last 10 minutes of episode 6 is all you need to watch? Or...
No, because, I mean, to be fair with it, there's a lot of content in there, and there's lots of new content and revisits, but it's all the same in the sense that we still haven't got a clue.
Of course.
You know?
The only bit that I've seen is of a man being harassed.
Yeah.
It's like, you're Dan Cooper, you're Dan Cooper, you're Dan Cooper. It's like, go away.
Why don't you admit you're Dan Cooper?
Yeah. It's like, what? So, yeah, it's a bit depressing. The state of the journalism in that series seems to be lax, let's say.
So there's literally, apart from accusing people who are alive, there's nothing new at all. Well, I mean, that's the end of that chat, but to stretch it out a tiny bit, what do we remember of our chat, apart from nothing? I just remember it being ridiculous, and I don't know how it has become it's not a phenomenon, but
I think it probably is really a phenomenon.
Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, people still have meetings, like Dan Cooper meetups.
Who has a meeting?
There are Dan Cooper clubs all over the place.
They have Dan Cooper Day.
Yeah.
In fact,
Where?
This will be the
all of America.
This will be the 51st anniversary of the event, and on that day is celebrated Dan Cooper Day.
Well, I can't believe it's widely celebrated, but
Yeah, I've heard people celebrate it because because no civilians were hurt, and he stole money from the man, and it was so kind of
and
baffling for all those
intriguing.
involved. Exactly, yeah. That he's become a kind of cult hero,
Sure, yeah.
even though he's
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
essentially
if he-
just a robber, a hijacker and a robber.
Who possibly didn't get away with it at all. Probably didn't get away with it. What we're talking about.
But nobody's ever been found, and the money's not been a small amount of money's been recovered.
Yeah, you're right. If he'd murdered 17, it wouldn't be, it's DB Cooper Day. Deeb's Day.
DB Day. But there's a Dan Cooper Day in Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a DB Cooper Day in Washington State.
Well, I mean, I can understand Washington State. What's Ohio got to do with it? Nothing.
No. So Ariel, which is a town in Washington.
Washington.
They have a DB Cooper Day.
I'd like to speak to someone from Ariel, Washington, and say, what on earth?
What are you doing?
What do you do on Deeb's Day? And
What isn't going on in your lives that you need this?
Exactly, yeah. And do you live near the fields near your house? Are there lots of mattresses and pillows, generally all year round for people to land on.
So, do you want to know how best to partake in DB Cooper Day?
Definitely.
Yeah.
If we head over to Ariel, what's the best thing that we
For
can
the
do when we get
purposes
there?
of this podcast, yes, I do.
Well, the first thing to do is go to the Ariel General Store and Tavern, where
Of
they will
course.
post a list of activities.
Okay.
So you can go there to see what's going on, and you'll be delighted to find that they will have things including panel discussions,
Oh, yeah.
mystery
Same-
solving, which
same
I think is more or less
subjects.
the same, and socialising,
Uh-huh.
which I read drinking and arguing about
Yeah.
Dan Cooper. Or arguing about the fact that it's called DB Cooper Day.
I know.
So this should be Dan
Come on.
Cooper Day,
How do you spell Ariel?
as it sounds.
Ariel, as in that one.
Maybe that's what
Like
the panel
the
discussions
mermaid.
are about. Shall we drop the... Do we drop the D, the B yet?
There is a brewery called the Victor 23 Craft Brewery, which was the...
I think they're covered in the documentary, actually.
Is it? That's the
Yeah.
flight path, apparently.
They've got...
What, it's
that the plane
under it?
took, yeah. It's
Wow.
called Victor 23, is the when they do their flight planning.
About...
And they've got their own IPAs called Skyjacker.
yeah, they are definitely covered there. Yeah.
Oh, I'd have a pint of that.
There you go. Next time you're in Washington State.
Now, I've only ever been to one of those kind of nerd days. I mean, you might have been there.
Really? Doesn't
I
sound
went
like me.
to probably 30 plus years ago. Went to Sons of the Desert,
Yeah, I was there.
which is a Laurel and Hardy thing.
Yeah.
And it was just, I was like, what on earth am I? Obviously I love Laurel and Hardy, but
Is that the Laurel and Hardy equivalent of a Comic-Con?
it's. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, they
yes,
watch
at
Lauren
the
and Hardy
time.
shorts.
Uh-huh.
They sing the Sons of the Desert song.
And then they just, and
Drake
it's in a
can talk
pub,
about Lauren and Hardy.
and that's it. And they just don't then have loads of pints. But oh my
Very
god,
much the same sort of thing, I would imagine.
the demographic of that. Well, I was like, Jesus wept. I don't want to be associated with any of this. The
Is it lots of tall, skinny men and round, rotund men all wearing black suits?
And faces, yeah.
yeah. It was just like, oh my god, what on earth am I doing here?
There was a group of people the age that we are now,
Yeah, probably, yeah,
but
yeah,
with
yeah.
beards.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like real ale kind
Yeah,
of.
like a British beer festival.
Yeah.
Which, ironically, we
Which
also
we've also been to.
we
It's just
attend-
fat-bearded men wearing
Actually, now
black.
you mention it, we are nerds. We go to Nerd Festival.
But I'm assuming it's the same kind of format of. So, what do you since we last met? What's your latest? Oh, I haven't got any. Anyway, do you want a pint?
Have a pint, yeah.
Hey,
What new evidence?
What's it called? Skyjack.
Skyjacker. Skyjacker IPA.
I think they have a jet fuel IPA as well.
There you go. Head on
Anyway,
down.
have a listen to the. Have a re-listen. Sorry, to the. Was it quite a popular pod at
I
the
would,
time?
I would,
About our pod of downloads,
yes, I would say for sure.
but we timed it quite well, didn't we? With the event. Anniversary of the event.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that you bring this up now because that is basically the entire USP of what we do, is to do the things
No, I
on
know,
the event,
but
on
on
the
that-
date of the event that took place.
No, I know.
We
but
are a
on
true
that,
crime diary.
on that particular one,
It was fortuitously timed to come out on the day of the event because that's what we do.
well, you say that nobody cares about any of the dates of 99% of our podcast. But I remember we were recording it, and then I don't know. The next day, it was like it wasn't in the news, but I would see an article, and I was like, "Oh right, so this is actually a thing," as opposed to the thing that people have never heard of,
Right.
which is half of the stuff.
It's America's greatest unsolved mystery. Apparently,
Is it?
Yeah.
That's what it's been cited
Greatest,
as in large.
God,
It's equivalent of
Rubbish.
roughly $1 million, $1 million,
yeah.
which is what, about £7 million now.
Oh, you're,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
In 50
Oh, you
years.
meant monetarily greatest. I thought you were just going, oh, it's brilliant.
Or most unsolved? I don't know. Can you have a most unsolved mystery?
The most unsolved case ever.
There's not another case that's as unsolved as this.
Well, anyway, have a listen if you feel like. But I wouldn't, Don't worry about it.
Yeah. If you haven't got a DB Cooper meetup to go to, then why not listen to this?
Then listen to this, yeah.
You're not doing anything else.
Look, for all I know, the good people of Ariel will be playing this over the loudspeakers.
Yes. We.
And if you are, hello, Ariel.
Let's do an on mic glass chink. Hey, Ariel.
So, the date we're looking at this week is the 24th of November, and in 1971, a middle-aged man boarded Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 to Seattle from Portland with a one-way ticket in the name of Dan Cooper. In one of the most daring and audacious hijackings ever, this man would hold the plane to ransom and eventually leave out of the aircraft and into legend, never to be seen again.
1971. So, technologies that are available at the time, there's obviously plenty of photography going on.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of filming going on. It's an airport, so it's fairly busy. Holidaymakers.
Yes.
You'd
Yeah.
think he'd be caught on camera somewhere.
Was it?
Possibly. It wasn't modern technology like we would know it.
No.
So, yeah, there would have been a certain amount of surveillance, but there would have been a part picture here and a bit of a picture here, you know.
I don't know, really. I mean, it's not a long flight. I bet Portland was a very small...
It was an international
Tiny.
airport. It was still international. It's a domestic flight, but it's
Yeah.
an international airport, so it's not that small.
I don't know, I'm not surprised there's no evidence
It would have been
background.
bustling with people. So.
I'm not surprised there's no evidence. What is there any evidence he got on it? The flight.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the fact that he hijacked the plane is some evidence that he got on the flight. So the story is this man who identified himself as Dan Cooper. He was a middle-aged man. He's about maybe 40. He's carrying an attaché case, a suitcase, and he got a one-way plane ticket. He got on the plane. He ordered a drink. He sat down, and after the plane took off, he handed a note to one of the flight attendants. The flight attendant named Florence Schaffner. And basically, she got the note. She thought, oh, you know, some guy's phone number. And then she kind of ignored it. And he said, you need to look at the note. I've got a bomb.
A bomb?
No, not a bomb.
So she goes and sits next to him and says, can I see
my bag.
it? In the bag. She says, can I see it? So he opens the case, and inside there's like some, what looks like a bomb. So there's like some wires, and there's 8 red cylinders. It's all wired
Your
up.
classic bomb.
Your classic bomb. Yeah, like you would have seen on Airplane, the movie. And there's a battery and everything, so it looks like a bomb. As far as she's concerned, it's a bomb.
Yep.
He closes the briefcase and he says, basically, this is what I want.
Some hard-boiled eggs and some nuts.
So he wants $200,000 in what he calls negotiable American currency, or what you and I would call cash. Mm-hmm. He asked for 4 parachutes. He wants a fuel truck to refuel the plane in Seattle. And he sends her to the cockpit to the pilot. So he's now hijacked the plane. He's got a bomb. He's on the plane, and he's issued his demands, and that's what he's looking for.
Yep.
All right, don't anybody move. Except to control the aeroplane. You can move a little to do that.
Where do you get that amount of cash from when you're in the air? He meant to collect on the ground.
Yeah. So he's basically asking him to fly to go to when they go to Seattle.
Yep.
When they land, he wants the money to be brought to the plane.
There it is. Here you
And
are.
refuel and then take off again.
Okay. So she goes to the cockpit.
She goes to the
relays
cockpit.
that.
Yeah, she sees the pilot, William Scott, and basically says, this fella's got a bomb. Now there's 35 other passengers on board. Yeah! And there's a crew of about 5.
Hello.
And they contact the airport, and then they inform the feds. So now they're basically planning what they're going to do, and the airline is going to pay the ransom. So Northwest Orient is the airline. They've said we're going to pay it, do whatever he says, and they kept the airplane circling in a holding pattern for a couple of hours while they get all the money and the parachutes and everything together.
A holding pattern? It sounds like you need to come down and refuel.
So there was no, we're not going to do it. They go, yeah,
No.
give us a minute.
Basically, yeah. Okay, so just kept, as I say, kept them holding, and then basically then they land, and the money, there's a 10,000 $20 bills is how it's paid. So they went to the cash point.
Yeah.
So they've got it from a lot of different banks, basically. They've gone and done the rounds. The FBI's done the rounds, and they've basically got loads of bags of cash.
Give me some of that money. I want some of that money.
So they land. I don't know. I can't help thinking this could have actually been foiled.
Yeah.
Like quite easily on the, but obviously I don't know I mean, he might have.
A plane could experience some kind of ghost technical difficulties and not be able to take off again. Or...
I mean, obviously everyone believed that he had a bomb, so therefore there's an element of do what he says.
Yeah.
But I can't help thinking that.
But for the bomb to go off, kills him as well. So
what's the point?
Unless it's a terrorist objective, it's not going to achieve anything.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't. It was just give me some money.
Yeah. I mean,
you can't go into a bank and say, "Give me $10,000 or I shoot myself."
The latter. So I thought it was. Give me some money and some parachutes. Thanks very much. Goodbye, and then jump out. But he landed and then took off again.
Yeah.
I can't help thinking they've missed a trick.
I thought the cash must be in the hold.
Yeah,
and he knows
what
that.
I thought.
And he's going to say, right, give me the money or I blow the plane up.
That's why he got on that
flight.
flight.
Have the money. Yeah. And he jumps out. That's how I thought it was going to go.
Okay.
No, it's much funnier than that.
Yeah, it's thrown me a bit because I was thinking, hang on, what do you mean they land? Yep, here's the money. Right, we're just going to take off again. Okay, bye. You know, it's like surely someone could have just bonked him on the head or something.
Yeah.
You know, I suspect he was dressed as a man,
as
opposed
a businessman. Yeah,
you know, a
suit and tie,
spacesuit kind of motorbike helmet to protect. You know, he could have.
He was wearing sunglasses.
Okay. I mean, they must have just
cunning disguise.
The bomb must have been.
Did they have a moustache attached underneath?
It must have just been very, very believable, basically, the bomb. Because I kind of, or some wise guy could have said, yeah, go on then. And he would have gone, well, wait until we've landed. You know, but my point is, it must have been very, very believable, or he was very assertive or, you know, commanding.
Yeah, well, the witness, one of the other flight attendants, Tina Mucklow, she would have said that he was very calm, quite nice. He wasn't nasty or anything like that. Normally, do
you mind if?
Yeah, well, the popular reports at the time the reports at the time of like airline hijacking were pretty much all political. You know, take this plane to Cuba kind of thing.
Yes.
Will you fly this plane to Luton, please?
Well, this is a scheduled flight to Cuba.
So, holding a plane to ransom or an airline to ransom with a plane full of passengers and a bomb was quite unusual.
And there's no reason. I mean, not that he needs a reason, I suppose. There's no reason of give me this money because blah blah blah. Yeah. It's just give me this money.
Give me the money, or I'll blow up the plane and all the people on it, including myself.
So,
which wouldn't. I mean, as far as it wouldn't have been a great PR exercise.
No,
if they'd blown up one of their airlines,
I suppose not.
And all these innocent civilians, but they agreed to it straight away.
You could have rewritten that story however you like.
Well, yeah,
because there's no witnesses.
Does would that wouldn't happen today, would it? You know, land the plane. Yeah, here's the money. You know, they just would. Wouldn't do it like that, would they?
It did happen in the 80s or 90s, didn't it?
Yeah,
someone hijacking a plane and then shooting him while it was on the runway.
But this is 1971. In 1972, 2/3 of all the airline hijackers were for ransom. Following this example.
Oh, okay, so perhaps
and most of the rest were take this plane to Cuba.
Or blown up. Meaning it was perhaps not regular, but it was a thing. So people went, oh, blimey, to do what he says.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, after this, the following year, as I say, they did like 15 odd or more
people. He made it a success for everybody else.
Everyone else tried it, yeah.
Right.
Tried the same
that
thing.
Works.
Give me
do that.
Yeah, he's disappeared with all the money.
Seems a bit.
I'm going to give it a go. I mean,
why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't.
Because it's a horrible crime and you could die.
Yeah.
But other than
that. Right, okay. Why did you say at the start DB?
Dan Cooper was his name.
Yeah.
He has been referred to as DB Cooper, but that was an error, which for some reason has caught on.
So someone missaw an A and an N.
Yeah, there was After the event, when the FBI were questioning possible suspects, there was a guy from Oregon named D.B. Cooper. He had a record. So he was one of the many people that was interviewed on the off chance he'd used their real name, sort of thing. And there was a reporter named James Long, and he got the suspect's name and the hijacker's name mixed up. So he reported D.B. Cooper, and that got picked up by some other papers, and suddenly everyone's looking for D.B. Cooper, not Dan Cooper.
There he is.
Okay.
But it was never called D.B. Cooper. D.B. Cooper had nothing to do with it. It's just it was a mistake in the press, and for some reason it's stuck in popular memory. It's stuck.
So anyway, we don't know his name.
But Dan Cooper probably wasn't his real name anyway.
No.
So it doesn't matter if it's D.B. Cooper or Dan Cooper. Neither of them is his real name. So.
Well, when you've got a daft plan like that, you may as well use your real name.
Well, yeah. I mean, clearly they did run around interviewing people named Dan or D. Cooper.
Lieutenant Dan.
I don't know, it just seems a bit weird to me. I'm sure all very avoidable. But anyway, perhaps I'm being a bit harsh to people.
If this is his plan all along, I really like you, Jed. I don't get why he's landing to get the money and a parachute. I mean, surely parachutes are 10 a penny on top of an aircraft.
Well, apparently not. I don't know if it was
also,
even...
why do you have to get in a plane to do your demands to then land to get the money? Couldn't you just go to the bank or go to somewhere and say, here's my demand? He could have gone to the bakery and said, I've got a bomb, here's my demand.
Give me all your
and they
iced
would have
buns.
gone, oh, right, okay. Meaning the plane, the first flight is kind of meaningless. Isn't it?
Well, no, the plane is... the threat. The plane is being held to ransom.
But if you've got a
rather
bomb,
than
it
a
doesn't
bakery.
matter. I'm going to set off this bomb. I mean, all right, they're in a plane, and everyone's going to die. But if you're going to set off a bomb anyway,
Yeah, but if you go into Greg's, the bakery, and say, give me $200,000, I'm going to blow up this bakery.
Yep.
The Greg's chain probably isn't going to have that kind of money to be able to pay for, whereas an international airline or a national airline would. Yeah.
Yep.
Plus the threat of the isolation of the aircraft.
Yeah, sure.
There's no. It's hard to mount an assault on an aircraft without being seen, or in enough time to set the explosion off.
Well, that's not once it lands.
You've still got it's out on the runway. You still got to cross open ground to get to it.
You could, there's front and back doors. You could create a diversion.
There's very little visibility.
From
the inside of an aircraft.
From the inside, yeah.
Yeah. But nonetheless, all you got to hear is a scrape on the door, and you've set the bomb off. It's not like they can just walk in and pick you up. He's got a bomb and hostages.
I'll go back to my earlier point: is your threat is your own life. Admittedly, other people as well.
But exactly. But if you've got nothing left to lose, or nothing left to live, you don't know his motivations. If we ever found him, we could have asked him.
And also, $200,000. I mean, obviously, I know that's quite a lot, but then it's not astronomical, is it? Is it?
So 200,000 in 1971 is currently the equivalent value would be about 1.2 million.
Okay.
Now, again, it's not massive amount, but it's small enough that they could get it together in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. You can, if you say, give me 10 million, they'll go, oh, for God's sake. Yeah. Right, okay. And it'll be all right. I'll faff to get all that together.
And again, there's no reason for... imagine the outcry if the airline said, well, I'm not giving you that. And
we
then
haven't
they
got
lose
it
a plane
to
and
hand.
35 to say, how much are you valuing your passengers' lives at? You're going to lose billions, or probably the entire airline.
So
if
it's
no
an
one
amount.
Flies with you again.
It's an amount that can be cobbled together, basically.
Yeah, they can get the money
Hastily.
quickly, and it's not worth it to the company to lose a plane and 35
And people.
passengers for that amount of
And
money.
face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So he was. So they brought him the money.
So they brought him the money. Yes.
Here you are.
Here you go, Slick. Enjoy.
And then when did he demand to be taken?
Up.
Yeah.
Well, he while the plane was being refueling, he
Absolutely fueled as well.
Yeah.
You could have put something else in.
that
like
was
orange
sugar.
juice or just it doesn't work.
Put some
we can't
diesel in it.
we can't take you never guess what, we can't take off. And he's
forget
got the
it.
money then.
Yeah.
He's not going to blow himself up then, is he? I mean, obviously we don't know, but the money has been delivered, so he's like, wait, I'm nearly. Oh, you're joking? What was that? The engine doesn't work. No, sorry. Everyone, please disembark. I'm doing the actions of a stewardess. This thing's stupid.
So basically, what happened was that when they radioed to the plane that the demands were going to be met, so they landed.
Yes,
This is Seattle Tacoma
refueled.
Airport. It's quite
Had a bit of lunch.
It's getting a bit dark now, so they taxi the plane to an isolated, well lit area, so you can see around the plane. They close all the window shades down, so snipers can't see.
Classic stewardess order. They always do that.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the bomber? Oh, right.
Secure the overhead lockers.
They
Sit down.
they take the bag and the parachutes to the back stairs and drop off the money. At which point, he's got the money, and he gets all the passengers off the plane. He releases the passengers. He's just got the crew
Okay.
on board.
Sniper. Anyway, fine.
Shoot the
I'm
passengers.
just listing the several times they could have actually foiled this. But
Yeah.
This isn't like a Die Hard with a vengeance kind of scenario.
Yep.
So while they're refueling, Cooper's outlining his plan to the cockpit crew, what he wants them to do. So once they're fueled, they're going to take off. He wants them to head towards Mexico City. And basically, they're talking about the kind of altitude and airspeed that he can parachute out. It's obvious if the parachute delivery wasn't enough.
Yes.
They're now saying he's definitely going to jump out of this plane. He demanded that they keep the landing gear down.
Down, right.
He was talking about the degrees of the flaps and everything else. So he knows what he's talking about in terms of altitude and speed and the operations of the plane. He knows all of this stuff. They were limited to 1,000 miles, the aircraft, so they had to basically a discussion about what they were going to do, and they decided that they would refuel again.
I was going to say, it's more than 1,000 miles to Mexico.
Yeah,
City.
so they were going to stop in Reno, in Nevada.
Okay.
And
do some gambling. 200,000 on black.
Yeah. There was a little bit of back and forth because Cooper wanted the rear door. Basically, on the 727, this model, the rear door actually extends out of under the tail, not at the side. There's a door that actually comes out under the tail of the plane, like in line with the aircraft.
Looks like.
Okay.
What's it called? 727.
Yeah.
Boeing.
How many passengers does it take? I mean, I know they vary quite a bit, but
well, there were 35
35 passengers
on board.
Okay. So it's quite a small plane then, really, is a sort of...
35 plus him, and then about 6 crew. Boeing 727-51 model.
Oh, okay. Right, sorry.
Hello, my name's Mark Decano, and I host the Comedy in a Nutshell podcast, in which I talk with those in and around the comedy circuit, and most especially the comedians, about what comedy means to them.
Simon Amstor plus Lena Dunham plus Mr. Blobby. I thought that would be a good combo.
Every gig you get is somebody else not getting a gig.
I've sometimes had people pull out a notepad and I've been like, oh no, thank you.
You are a jester and you're here to bring light relief to people's lives.
Somebody at the end was like, oh my God, she's dirty. And I was like, oh, thank you very much.
My boyfriend says he feels like he has to tread very carefully because he was like, I know that everything has the potential to become material.
I can now give to people and they definitely in that moment are having a good time.
So if you want to know more about what comedy means to the people at its heart, then hear it straight from the horse's mouth. Comedy in a Nutshell, wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Fringe, baby!
Okay, so he asks that this stairway is left deployed. There's a bit of back and forth with the tower because they're concerned about it might affect its ability to take off safely. So basically, they end up
because
it might
the nose lifts.
Yeah. So basically, he said it was safe. So he thinks he knows about this plane.
Oh, he said it was safe.
He said it was safe, but he agreed because of the protest. I mean, he's the hijacker, and yet he's being nice and discussing and all this, which is weird. But he said, "Okay, look, it's definitely safe, but fine, I'll take it up and I'll deploy it when we're up." So it was a bit weird,
right?
So he obviously knows, or apparently he knows what he's talking about in terms of this particular aircraft. So they're off. It's about 7:30ish. They take off. Now there's only him, the pilot, co-pilot, flight engineer, and flight attendant Mucklow. Now, while they're in the air, they're being tailed by 2 F-106 fighters out of McCord Air Base following.
Understandably.
Above them, but out of sight, so you can't see them. There's a trainer flight has been diverted, so they're following him around. So overall, there were 5 planes following this plane.
Wow.
And none of the pilots saw him leave the aircraft out of these 5 aircraft following.
Okay.
So having taken off, Cooper sent the flight attendant to join the crew in the cockpit. So all the crew are in the cockpit with the door closed, and he's the only one in the body of the plane. And then about 8 o'clock, there's the warning light in the cockpit, so the stairs are being deployed. Yep. And then they feel the air pressure, or the cabin pressure.
Change in...
Yeah, that the door is definitely open.
Flow.
Then suddenly there's after a few minutes, there's a kind of a quick upward movement. And they reckon that's the point at which he's left the plane. So basically, Cooper has jumped out of the back
with all the money.
With all the money and with their parachute.
So therefore, a bit of weight has gone.
Well, it's not going to be so heavy that the plane's going to jerk upward.
Well, it's probably him.
Don't know.
Bouncing off the back.
Yeah, you would definitely feel it, but yeah, you would, because is he hanging out the back?
It's literally right at the back under the tail.
Yeah, so it would make a difference.
The plane is empty of other passengers. All the human weight is in the cockpit. They're all in the cockpit. There'll be him and bags of $20
money.
bills. $10,000
Do you think
$20 bills.
A lot?
And two parachutes.
I don't know.
He takes 2 parachutes. He leaves 2 behind.
Oh, okay.
Takes 2 parachutes, all this money, and him right to the furthest opposite point of the plane.
Yes. Yeah.
And then basically swan dives out of the back of the plane.
But nobody on any of these 5 planes saw anybody leave it.
No.
I'm not sure he ever left.
Where did he go? Presumably he also had the bomb on him.
Yes.
Because otherwise you could just push him out.
All he left behind was his black clip-on tie and tie clip, and 2 of the parachutes.
So is that kind of where the story ends? Because whereas fact is concerned.
Essentially, yes, that is the tale.
See you next week.
After that is what is known. After that, it's all very much about how the thing was investigated, and it just went all over the place. They're looking for ransom money.
Sorry, where did he jump out? Whereabouts?
Where is it believed he jumped out?
Yes. Jumped out over
You can't not see a parachute if there are at least 5 pairs of eyes watching.
Perhaps he didn't deploy.
Maybe they were designed not to deploy.
Yeah, exactly. We've said they're parachutes in here, but it's just my washing. Or he jumped out over a bed of nails factory.
A bed of nails factory. Not just a nail factory. A bed.
Nails wouldn't work. I suppose magicians.
If the parachutes were designed not to open, then you'd have found a body covered in cash.
You would, yes.
Well, yeah.
Or rather, some cash covered in body.
Yeah.
A big hole in the ground, carpeted with cash.
So we don't know where he jumped out. In between Seattle and...
Well, they've headed down... They're on their way via Reno. So they were heading south, basically. They think it might have been near Ariel in Washington State.
So not very far.
Not too far. It was quite... No, it was like 50 minutes after takeoff.
Oh, right, okay.
Very quick.
So was that... would he potentially... Obviously, we don't know the answer to any of these questions, but So if you say to someone, fly me to Mexico, they will... Or fly me to Reno, they'll have to go in a certain direction.
Yes.
That meaning, do you think he said, fly there, and then he knows that on the way, there is a outdoor mattress factory, or a pillow emporium, outdoor one, or something. Meaning, hang on,
a blimp factory.
Meaning the stewardess would have gone. Hang on,
what is this? A Roadrunner cartoon?
I thought you wanted to go to Mexico City or wherever it was. But as I say, we don't know the answer to any of this, do we?
No, we don't. They searched a lot. The FBI was searching. They questioned like 800 suspects.
800?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty much anyone who fit the sketch that they put together, or whose name was Cooper, or anything else they could possibly come up with. They interviewed over and over.
It seems like they spent more on the investigation than he got away with.
He wasn't found, basically.
He wasn't found. I mean, they using the airspeed and everything else, they worked out sort of a flight path, and they looked at where he could have landed. They had aerial searches going on. They had ground searches going on using the National Guard. I mean, they searched all over. They had 200 army officers, army soldiers were there, as well as Air Force, all sorts going on. And then for a couple of months in early 1972, they were searching. There was a skeleton found. That they thought might have been him, but it turned out it was sadly a teenage girl who'd been killed. But they found.
So what about money?
Well, they distributed all the serial numbers, because they'd obviously taken note of all the serial numbers, to all the banks and casinos and everyone else, and they offered a reward, 15% of the money. It wasn't recovered. Some men tried to swindle Newsweek out of some money by using Cooper bills, but they were counterfeit. They basically made
interesting
with the correct
money with the right serial numbers in order to say I've found the Cooper money.
Fancy fraudulently forging stolen money.
I mean, fraudulent.
How many crimes? How many crimes are in that sentence? Made fake money so we could commit fraud, pretending to be a hijacker when we weren't.
So no money was ever been found?
Some money was found in 1980.
So it's 9 years later?
Yes.
Where did this money turn up then? Was it just sort of...
The Washington marshmallow factory.
Someone went to make a large deposit. They sensibly sat on the money for 9 years instead of buying themselves a cigar store Indian.
It was a bundle of cash, and it basically just washed up on the Columbia River.
Oh, right.
And investigation concluded that they had basically just matted together from the river flow of the river. They just matted together in a ball and washed up on the shore.
Right.
So, although it was some money, it didn't explain where it came from or how it got there. So,
did it have numbers on it that matched the missing?
They were definitely
Dan Cooper money.
Yeah, but that didn't explain why some of the bills were from one bundle of money and some of the bills were from another bundle of money, and they got together. They weren't like bundles were matted together. There were bits of money from here and here and here put together. So it raised more questions than it answered. Really.
But was that when it was delivered to him? It was delivered to.
It was delivered in two bundles. Yeah.
So I mean, he might have just lumped them together though himself, wouldn't he?
In midair.
Yeah.
Just taken bundles of cash out the bag, swapped some bills into another.
I don't see why he would do that. But yeah. I mean, I would. Here's what I think. He landed and some money fell out his pocket, but he landed safely and then got away. Basically, and that's the end of that. Because otherwise, facts and evidence would tell us what happened, basically, and currently it doesn't and hasn't. He just landed and
it wasn't even
got
clear.
Away.
It couldn't be determined properly, really, if the money had just fallen into the river or been put in the river or buried in the dry bank, or they couldn't really calculate.
But it was the money.
It was some of the money, okay. But they were reviewing it right down to spore samples on the money.
Right.
They still couldn't determine conclusively how it had got there or the origin of it.
But it says to me that he got away with it.
Or if he didn't leave the plane, he could have thrown a few bundles out the back as a trail.
What do you mean if he didn't leave the plane?
Well, he didn't jump out of the plane. Nobody saw him leave.
Yeah, but
the plane.
he would have. when they landed, whenever they landed, they would have gone, oh, there he is.
Well, they're not expecting him to be there.
So you could, open the doors, please. Everyone in the cockpit. I'm going to jump. Oh, he probably didn't say it like that, but he, suggesting that he was going to jump. He goes to the end. He makes some movement, jump up and down a bit, which absolutely
bit of trampoline action on the end of
which absolutely would upset the plane for,
absolutely.
And then you don't. You chuck a bundle of money out. That'll put them off the trail.
Yeah.
Then Geronimo. 3, 2, and then you then need to have a good hiding place, wouldn't you? But get in that. Now, one would assume that as soon as the plane lands, that it was literally ripped to pieces.
No, but certainly you would gun through it looking for evidence. So I'm pretending to be a chair. So.
Or you very carefully, 10 miles later, actually jump out. And because of the motion beforehand, people are put off the scent because he definitely jumped out then, so therefore let's look here. Meanwhile, he lands in,
or he puts on his disguise, pulls off his rubber face, takes off his sunglasses.
Yeah, it's quite good though, isn't it?
Well, there's no suggestion that the flight crew were involved. Obviously, they were questioned at length. Doesn't look like they were involved. If he had an accomplice on the ground, the flight crew would have had to help him out because it would be so precise where he was going to go that would be difficult. Like you said, the plane's outside.
That could have easily been the case, though. That's why. Right, everyone in the front. I'm 10 minutes out. Fly in this direction. 10 minutes out. Check the watch. Go.
Yeah, but you're hardly going to land on an X. You're going to land within like a 50 square mile radius. He didn't have any like a helmet or anything like that.
No.
So he just had the parachutes. But even then, if he landed in wherever he landed, I mean, he had a bag of money and a bomb. He didn't have any hiking equipment or compasses or anything like that discernible. Anyway.
I'm kind of assuming the money is like massive, but it's probably fit it in rucksacks.
It was delivered in a rucksack. So.
Oh, okay, all right, fine.
But yomping your way out of a forest in the middle of nowhere with no, necessarily any direction finding equipment, no food, water, and a backpack full of fair weight. It's going to be
with
a bit
that
of an ordeal.
backpack. Can you? Would one parachute have not been good enough?
Oh yeah, it would have been. Yeah, it would have been all right.
It would have been all right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But he still took 2 parachutes.
Well, it took a parachute and a reserve.
Sorry,
backup parachute.
I thought you meant he strapped the money to one of them.
No,
it was really heavy.
I mean, it looked like he might have tied it to himself with using the cord from one of the other parachutes.
Okay.
So he basically ripped cording from one parachute and then took the one good parachute and one of the reserves. I mean, the FBI's most immediate conclusion is he didn't die in the fall, and he would have died in the wilderness, basically.
Yeah, okay. Because that's where right. Okay, so he was in the middle of.
Yeah, I mean, it was green land, but it was thousands of miles of.
And by the sounds of it, this money hasn't been spent to date. Otherwise, some of these numbers would have turned up.
Again, not only has he not turned up, but the money hasn't turned up either.
Yeah, which does kind of point towards either he didn't jump and for some reason didn't do anything with the money, or more likely, it would seem, he did jump and just died somewhere
and just went in a hole,
unable to spend any of it.
And he was eaten or whatever.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of the money then? It's just fluttered.
But again, it's cash, so it would have just
made of
disintegrated.
Cotton, so it would just rot away.
Yeah.
Would it? At the time, it would have.
It's made of cotton now, isn't it?
Yeah.
But our notes don't rot away.
Well, they're plastic now.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But they're made of cotton.
But they would have been. Yeah. They would have been cotton and linen blend before. They would have dissolved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Especially in water and weather, they would have just disintegrated.
There you go. Case solved.
So he's dead, eaten by wolves, money's disintegrated. The end.
Deebs, the D-man.
There were a lot of suspects. Obviously, we said about they interviewed hundreds and eventually over 1,000 what they called serious suspects. A lot of them publicity seekers who'd come forward, people who falsely confessed and things like that.
God, you confessed to that?
Fame.
It was me.
So they want to get their name in the.
Fame is fairly short-lived once you're imprisoned.
There was more than one person who stood on the gallows said, "I'm Jack the Ripper." More than once. Yeah. Just so they could put their name as make more.
And they went through with it.
Well, they were hanged.
Really?
They're on the gallows. I'm going to be hanged, so I'm going to claim for something else as well. To gain notoriety. So that's why people put their names forward to say,
be hanged anyway, I might as well be Jack the Ripper. Yeah.
Rather be hanged for a sheep as a lamb, isn't it? That's a saying.
That's a thing.
That's a saying. People say that. There's a Kenneth Christensen, 2003, man in Minnesota called Lyle Christensen. He saw a documentary about the hijacking and he was convinced that his brother Kenneth Christensen was Dan Cooper. When he died, Kenneth, they had gold coins and very valuable stamps and over $200,000 in mixed bank accounts and a folder full of Northwest Orient Airlines news clippings.
Okay.
So, they were convinced that it was him. Mm-hmm. Although, investigation said probably didn't do it. He didn't buy the house for cash. He had a mortgage he had to pay off. He sold land, which meant he would have had money in his account. So it wasn't him, probably. There's another guy named Jack Coffelt. He was a con man. He claimed that he was Cooper and tried to sell the story to Hollywood. But FBI said, no, it was all nonsense. There was another one called Lynn Doyle Cooper, an LD Cooper. He was put forward as a suspect by his niece because she remembered when she was 8, he was very mischievous.
Guilty.
Well, that's it. He was mischievous and he had the surname Cooper.
Yeah.
Which was a made-up.
But then she had the surname Cooper, so she could have done it as well.
Mm. But not when she was 8.
When she was 8, yeah. She remembered her 2 of her uncles planning something using walkie-talkies, and the next day the plane was hijacked. So she said it was him, but no, they said no, it wasn't him. Richard McCoy was put forward, and it has even been proposed that the phrase "the real McCoy" comes from this guy. It doesn't, but it was that was put forward. Now he was one of the copycats in 1972 who tried to do the same thing. This McCoy. That's one of the reasons he's been proposed as having done it the first one, and he was doing it again.
The real McCoy.
Yeah. He said he had a bomb. He demanded parachutes and $500,000. The money was delivered, and he bailed out in over Utah. Mm-hmm. But they found him. They caught up with him, and he had the cash in his possession. He was sentenced to 45 years in prison.
Gosh,
45.
Yeah.
Wow.
He did. He escaped. And he was found 3 months later in Virginia Beach, and he was killed in a shootout with the FBI.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it's quite.
That's a kind of more interesting.
You'll never take me alive, copper. All right.
The agony of choice.
I mean, it's a shorter story.
Was that Richard McCoy?
Yes. Yeah.
So I know he was doing a copycat, but it's a better ending. It's more a longer ending.
Well, it's less mysterious.
Yeah.
It's very short and.
And a phrase potentially has come from it.
I mean, it didn't come from that, but people have said it.
Sorry.
It did. People have said it did, but it didn't.
Right, okay. Well, I mean, what would you rather do? Spend 45 years in prison or get gunned down after 3 months of living it large?
Was getting caught part of your plan?
Yeah, he was only 32.
Okay, so he possibly wouldn't have survived the 45-year term.
No, he'd be out by now, wouldn't he? But
oh, the irony!
There was another example in November of '71, just before Cooper's attempt, where there was a Canadian man named Paul Joseph Cheney. He hijacked an Air Canada plane, but he was overpowered before he managed to get away because he put down his gun to put on the parachute.
Very good. yeah.
And the passengers overpowered him.
Sure. But that was before.
That was before, yeah. So it was the same month, it was a little earlier.
Okay, fine.
Sorry, I find that particularly hilarious.
I love the simplest thing like that. There you go.
I could just see him going to go,
hold this.
Hang on a minute.
Yeah. So, what does this mean? Well, obviously, the airlines reacted. So, airport security modified. All passengers and bags were searched from then on. Plane, the Boeing 727 had a catch fitted to the stairs, so they couldn't be opened while the plane was in flight.
See, hijackers, they ruin it for the rest of us.
This is it. Yeah, you see.
It's just a small, hardcore people messing it up.
Ruining it for the masses.
Yeah.
Okay, so, popular culture. Books. There are many that mention it, as well as fictional accounts or fictionalized versions of this account. There are characters based on it throughout the years. Rainbow's End, 1975, Free Fall, 1980.
Drama or films or something.
Yep.
Netflix special.
There's a couple of movies, not big ones. 1981, there's a movie. Robert Duvall played a insurance investigator looking into the case. There's a movie called Without a Paddle in 2004, where they go looking for the money. There's a bunch of things on in the television. Dale Bartholomew Cooper is a character in Twin Peaks. D.B. Cooper.
Oh yeah, he is, isn't he?
Little nods like that. Prison Break has got a character, D.B. Cooper, in it. There's songs, loads of sort of Kid Rock makes a reference to the money from the heist. So there's a lot of it, a lot of mentions of him throughout. So obviously all of this took place in the Pacific Northwest. So every year there's regular D.B. Cooper themed promotions and tourist events and things like that.
Oh, right.
And Cooper Day celebration has been held at the Ariel General Store and Tavern every November since 1974.
Really? What are they celebrating? His existence?
The opportunity to sell souvenirs.
Cooper Day.
Cooper Day.
Yeah, you're right. It's just an opportunity.
Yeah. But what do you sell? Parachutes.
Chocolate parachutes.
Yeah, chocolate parachutes.
Chocolate money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And half price off bowling shoes. That's all for this time. If you want to know more about what we've talked about on this episode, then just Google it or something. You can listen to all of our previous episodes on our website. That's www.truecrimediary.co.uk. Please remember to leave a review on your podcast provider if you can, or you can email us. That's stuff@truecrimediary.co.uk. My thanks to Jed and Rue and to all of you for listening, and we'll see you again on the next date in our True Crime Diary.